everybody could please take your seats. Please. I'd like to call to order the regularly scheduled Planning Commission meeting for the City of Eastpointe, November 6, 2025, at 7:07 p.m. Secretary, please call the roll.
Ms. Moody? Here. Ms. Naylor?
Here. Yes.
Ms. Julinski, yes. Chairman DeHaan?
Yes. In the interest of clarity, I think it's safe to say that there may be a whole passel of questions about the court building, hence not keeping these poor ladies here any longer than they need to be. Moving on to the first hearing of the public. You have 3 minutes to speak. If you wish to speak on items regarding the public hearing item A, first hearing of the public. If you wish to speak on items in that, please keep your comments for that public hearing. Otherwise, you have 3 minutes to say whatever you want to have to say. Please be nice. And write your name down on the confirmed pad of paper.
It's okay. Jennifer Nicholas, Eastpointe resident. I actually have a couple questions about the new multi-family unit. That and first of all, the ones that we have at Kelly and Topfer, those are not occupied yet. I know that there was an issue with the air conditioners being stolen a month or two ago, but as I drove by there again just this week, it looks like they are still empty. So I just wondered if, during comments or that, somebody could give us an update on what's happening with that, or if those are going to be rented anytime soon. And that kind of leads into these other multi-units that are going to be at Beaconsfield and Veronica. Are those also affordable, or is there an income requirement for them, or are those just straight rentals? My question too is I was kind of trying to look at the map, the site plan for it, and it seems like it's going to be a very tight fit. I didn't know if there's parking, like a parking lot there. It didn't seem like I saw one, and I don't know that there would be room for one. So is the intention for those 9 units to have 9 parking spaces on the street, and would that be on Veronica or on Beaconsfield? And, again, maybe just some clarification on that, seeing as how this first project that we have at Kelly and Topfer is not occupied yet. Thought maybe we would want to hold off a little bit and see how the first one works out before we start building a whole bunch of other ones. So anyways, that's just my thoughts, and if you can address that, or I'm sure part of that will be addressed in new business anyways, but just wanted to make sure that my questions were out there. Thank you.
Does anyone else wish to be heard? Anyone else wish to be heard? Maybe I'll just speak loudly as opposed to creating a feedback. Anyone else? Nope. All right. We're going to close the first hearing of the public. We'll move on to approval of the minutes of October 2nd, 2025. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes of October 2nd, 2025?
So moved.
Support. We have a motion by Ms. Naylor. We have support by Mr. Sasek. Secretary, please call the roll.
Ms. Naylor?
Yes.
Mr. Sasek?
Yes.
Mrs. Moody?
Yes.
Ms. Julinski, yes. Chairman DeHaan?
Yes. Moving on, may I have a motion to open the first public hearing, or the only public hearing?
So moved.
We have motion. Do we have support?
Support.
We have motion by Mr. Sasek, support by Ms. Moody. Secretary, please call the roll.
Mr. Sasek?
Yes.
Mrs. Moody?
Yes.
Ms. Naylor?
Yes.
Ms. Julinski, yes. Chairman DeHaan?
Yes. Before we go into the public hearing, Mr. Myers, would you please just explain or give a little introduction as what the public hearing is about, and and why we're doing it, so we can open it up to any questions or comments.
No, on the zoning ordinance. You want me to do it?
Speaking?
No, it's the zoning ordinance.
Yes, please.
Mr. Chair, if it's all right, I'll take that one.
Okay.
So what has been noticed for this meeting is a set of potential revisions, proposed revisions to the zoning ordinance. We discussed these at the last Planning Commission meeting. The topic of these is modifying the definition of event halls, modifying sign regulations, adjusting when special land uses are required in the instance of a change of ownership or occupancy of an existing licensed business, slightly modifying the wording of regulations for landscape islands, adding regulations for accessory building structures and uses, adding the definition of contractors' offices and where those uses are permitted, cleaning up several typos and stray scrivener's errors, adding and clarifying definitions to support the rest of those amendments that I just talked about, and a couple map amendments that are a little bit of housekeeping to rectify split zone parcels that are split zoned because a development was approved. As part of that development, the parcel was combined, and now there are two different zoning designations for one parcel. Just to refresh, and for anyone who's new here, what we are trying to do is do some tune-up and maintenance on the zoning ordinance based on the administration's experience enforcing them. The ordinance is fairly new, and a couple things that were proposed, or a couple regulations are not necessarily as easy to enforce or as straightforward as they were envisioned to be. We're striving to make regulations more clear and enforceable, and also just respond to current conditions and land uses and what development is going on. Since our last discussion with you, the items that we discussed last time, and I'm happy to go into detail as it's necessary, but just for the commission's knowledge, as we talked about, or as Mr. Albright reminded us last time, the Code of Ordinances, the Police Power Ordinance, regulates the parking of commercial vehicles. We had an alternative amendment. We scrapped that and just now are proposing the zoning ordinance refers to the Code of Ordinances for the regulation of the parking of commercial vehicles on residential streets. And we had talked about a couple regulations to potentially allow more non-conforming pole signs to stay when a building is reoccupied. As it is currently written, when a building is reoccupied, any non-conforming sign must be removed, including the pole signs. We found that many of the pole signs are closer to the right-of-way than the regulations allow right now. Some of the non-conforming ones do not pose a problem as it's written and as was in your packet. We're proposing to be able to allow the structure of those pole signs as long as the rest of the signs meet the standards and the poles themselves don't cause visibility or safety issues. Otherwise, the proposed amendments that you have in your packets are exactly what we talked about last time.
All right, thank you. Does anybody in the public wish to speak on this matter? If so, you have 3 minutes. Please sign your name again. Is it green?
Okay, there we go. Yeah, I mentioned this last time, and I still have, garages we would have in the city if this ordinance was adopted in the way that it's written. We had talked again, too, that there's also, you're changing or adding an ordinance where if you have to rebuild the garage completely, and you have to move it 3 feet away from the side lot, that would possibly be putting the garage too close to the home with the setback from the principal building. And, Mr. Myers had said at the last meeting that that might result in having to reduce the size of your garage, which I feel is, economically a burden if you have to go from a 2-car garage to a 1.5-car garage. That affects your property value. People, some people want a 2-car garage. That's makes a property more sellable. And having a 2-car garage also is a safety issue. I mean, Eastpointe is not the only city that has cars broken into or cars stolen. And the idea of being able to park 2 vehicles, in the garage would be ideal, as opposed to only having space for 1 car and having to leave 1 car in a driveway. So again, I don't understand why there is this 3-foot minimum from the side lot, when, I'd say hundreds, thousands of garages in Eastpointe are 2 feet away, much less than 3 feet away. So if that's something that can be maybe amended or adjusted, maybe some verbiage that it can remain as it was if you have to rebuild it, being grandfathered in, as long as it's not a safety issue for some reason or something. But, it would, as a homeowner, it would discourage me from building a new garage if I knew that I was going to lose my 2-car garage for a 1.5-car one. Thank you.
Gary Myron, Eastpointe resident. I agree with Jennifer. And my garage is 2 feet from the fence, and there's nothing on the other side. The back of it is 2 feet from the fence. And then the garage behind me is another 2 feet. So there's 4 feet between garages. And there's a lot that are like that, just for information.
Thank you. Does anyone else wish to be heard? Anyone else wish to be heard? Seeing none, we'll close the first hearing of the public. And I will go to speaking loudly again. I don't speak sign language.
It's for the audience online.
Okay, so item A, which is now item B, Mr. Erbil, would you please introduce?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. This item is an application, a request for site plan approval for a townhouse development on the corner of Veronica and Beaconsfield, specifically the southwest corner outlined in blue on the screen. The proposal is to build a total of 9 2-story, 1,240 square feet apiece units. They're townhouse units in 2 buildings, 5 units on the west side and 4 units on the east side. They are addressed towards Veronica. So the front doors, I'll go to the floor plans in a second, but the front doors are on Veronica. They are sort of walk-up units, you can see there. They are, I believe, proposed to be 3-bedroom, 3-bathroom townhouses. And the landscape plan is illustrated here. The applicant proposes frontage landscaping on Veronica, some foundation landscaping on the west side and on the Beaconsfield frontage. There's also a proposal to have a shared mail kiosk in between the buildings and an enclosure for rolling garbage containers, which is in the middle there. Behind that, a set of bike racks for resident use. The floor plans are here. As I mentioned, this is the first floor of the townhouse unit, in the way the plan is oriented, Veronica, is to your right. There's a bedroom on the first floor and a bathroom, living, dining room, and kitchen. The upper floor has 2 more bathrooms and 2 more bedrooms. The applicant provided, so the applicant did provide revisions based on the review that was in your packet. I emailed those out this afternoon. My colleagues in the administration have not had a chance to review them. I've had a chance to skim through them. And what I just showed you is the revised set. So I can sort of navigate through some of the things, whether it's been addressed or not. I think the applicant can help with that too. But just so you know, I'm showing you the set that it was in response to our initial review. There was not an elevation in the original application. This is a typical unit elevation. I believe the siding is intended to be vinyl and with a gabled roof. We don't yet have elevations of the entire project.
Mr. Abil,
Yes.
I know that I'm getting old and my eyesight is not what it used to be, but when I drove by that property, either that is a miraculously larger property than I drove past. How is that possible to put those 2 large structures on? My side lot might be bigger than this piece of property.
Well, I mean, the property is 60 feet wide, 60 feet of frontage on Beaconsfield. It's about 200 feet long. So I guess this is what you see is how that is proposed to happen.
Chairman DeHunt, if I may.
Please.
When I first started looking at the original packet, it would be parking on Veronica, but any of us that have lived in this city know that if there's a spot, somebody's going to take it. So I have concerns there. My biggest concern, and again, Mr. Abril, this is not directed at you, but we received revisions at 11:30 this morning, 7 hours before the commission meets. Some of my commission members actually have jobs and would not have had a chance to look at the revisions. The other thing I'm concerned about is even in the revisions, it said there are specific areas that will be addressed once they're available. But you're wanting us to approve a site plan. We don't have all the information yet, and it's not practical. I think of another monstrosity we have in the city, which is a residence, single-family residence built on the corner of Semrau and Lexington. And at least they have off-street parking and a 2-car garage. This plan is making absolutely no safe sense in my head. Thank you.
Mr. Abil, Mr. Myers.
Mr. Chair, if I may, you're correct, Councilman, Chair, that we have a couple issues on the table that haven't been met by our request. And so you might be wise, if it would be my recommendation, to table this until further information. We will not grant this big of a piece of property to have only or majority of its parking on the street. And so they have to make some amendments to that standard from what they started, if you remember, over a year ago when we had another presentation to this same property issue. So they have some things they have to correct yet. When they thought they would be able to get it all done before this meeting got here, and as well done by Paul, they continue to amend or make recommendations to correcting the site plan, and therefore they got late in trying to get it in at the last hour. The 11th hour was not qualified for what we'd like to see happen. The property is going to fit the buildings, but not necessarily fit the proper setback for usage of vehicles per unit. even one per unit won't be meeting our zoning code. So you are correct on those. So my recommendation at this point is for us to suggest we go back to the drawing board with this organization and see if we can get some of the zoning verifications more clarified before we bring it back to you.
Chairman DeHunt, if you'd like, I would make a motion to table this action.
Does anybody wish to second that motion?
I would just have a question on this property. Is the only concern the parking, or are there other concerns? I know there was a lot of things that to be determined, and I know we've had some time people come and they do things administratively. Is there any administrative things that can be resolved? I know he said he hadn't seen them all, but are those administrative factors that can be done administratively? And if it's a parking structure issue, then that would be something different. But I guess my question would be, why are we here if you have not resolved something as major as parking? That would be my question.
So the zoning ordinance does allow the petitioner to ask the planning commission for flexibility in parking. There's also a provision that says for affordable units are not obligated to provide the one off-street parking space per unit that's otherwise required. I guess we are here, and the applicant is here, to discuss the project and to understand your concerns. The applicant is here if you'd like to talk to them to, I mean, I think that there's been some clear feedback already, but I think it's productive to have the commission and the applicant talk to each other, and so that we can, the city's been talking to this applicant for a long time about a project of some kind on this piece of land. And so I guess this is an effort to move it forward, even if we do not reach a approval today.
So we have a motion to table, but we have no support.
Can I add something first? Something else I just realized that I read in the original packet was the core soil samples also. And what I was reading was there was some concern that the clay base may not be conducive to supporting the weight of these particular buildings, and that the particular clay base that they were finding has a tendency over time with water levels and whatever changing of shifting, which eventually could cause the structure base to be shifting. Again, I'm not an engineer, so I don't know how legitimate that is, but to me, that's a concern.
Chair, if I may, in that, did we not read something that said just change the footing, how they structure the footing?
Correct.
How the footing can address that, and it wasn't common in this area? I'm just curious to know, because I think you read that, after you read that part, it says about it doesn't happen around here.
This would have been the piece that we received this morning.
This was in the original packet that I saw, the soil studies.
Yeah, from McDowell and Associates.
Yeah, the boring in the whole packet, they show that in detail.
But they were indicating that there were some potential clay base issues. It was a very in-depth report, I do
Yeah,
admit
but
that.
it resolved, but it came with the resolution.
Correct.
Okay.
It came with the resolution.
Okay.
And it also stated that it was not common in this area. I thought.
Okay.
That's on page, the February 12th letter, I think.
Thank you.
There was the 3 samples.
So we still have a motion to table, but nobody has supported that I'm aware of as of yet.
Councilman, I just feel like we're tabling something before we've had a chance to really discuss everything. If it's
True.
just-
I just want to find out if the motion
Are we
dies.
asking the motion to because of parking? That's what my question was. Are we tabling because of parking? And if the parking zoning does make some, accommodations for that, so we're tabling it for what reason? That would be my question. Now, I know there were some remarks that came today, but based on what I read, it did indicate, that's what I'm saying, could that be handled administratively? When we've had some business come before us, there's some things we don't know all the answers to.
That's correct.
But it does say it can be handled administratively. So before I would just table the whole package, I would say, is there anything that could be handled administratively? And is the other issue was parking is the only thing I heard. We just resolved the boring because it was stated.
So From what I saw of the revised submission, it does address many of the comments, not all of them. I think things that are outstanding, and I can't speak for my colleagues or the engineers because we did not receive the revisions in time for the engineers to review them. The parking, if the planning commission is going to grant any modification of the parking requirements, right, that the planning commission would have to do that, and at this scale, it would require a public hearing. The standard, I think, is more than 11%. There's also, I am not certain myself of the price point or how we might guarantee that these units are affordable. They are intended to be for sale. So since I didn't receive any additional information about that, I was going towards the petition is, the application is to ask the planning commission to modify the parking requirements, which has to meet certain standards, which I think I have. I thought I copied them in here. This is the process for that. And the ordinance does state that the planning commission has final authority over granting parking waivers.
But that would also require a public hearing, if I'm correct, which we have not had.
Correct.
And you said that there were other issues that you did not have time to address because it was received at the last moment.
It was received yesterday morning.
Okay.
So there was not time to send it out to, in your original packet, the fire department mentioned a concern about the access down the street if there are cars parked at the end. I mean, the fire marshal has not seen the revised plans or where the applicant, in the initial phase, the applicant had not identified the parking spaces. In this revised phase, the parking spaces are identified. There are 9 parking spaces identified on Veronica, not Beaconsfield, Commissioner Sasek. There were other things. The building was in the setback, or the applicant was interpreting the front of the lot line differently than I was interpreting the front of the lot line. So the setback, the comments about the setback and the variances as it's currently presented, it would not need setback variances.
Mr. Myers, it looked like you're about ready. You want to say something?
I was answering the councilman's, the commissioner's question about what else can be done. We cannot do administratively the parking issue. It also needs to be public noticed, and then it also needs to confirm for you the use of the parking variances are going to be based on being low mod income structured built. And those numbers need to be in front of you so you can make that, or we could make that administratively to confirm those kind of guidelines. And that's just not been completed enough at the last hour as the modifications have been made. And those are our PC responsibilities.
Okay.
Please.
So my recommendation is yes, I would definitely want to table this because I didn't even know there was another revision today. And I'm not going to talk about something I do not have had a chance to review a revision. Parking, totally a game changer for me. I would like to hear what the applicant has to say. I mean, and I did not see, and maybe it was in one of the multiple revision packets, do we have a rendering of a completed look of this proposal?
We do not.
Okay, I would like to see that as well. And materials, I mean, I know that's, but that's my suggestion. Let the applicant speak, and if everyone agrees to table it, I would move so.
Well, we have a motion to table. We have had no support thus far.
Well, we got cattywampus here.
We did. Mr. Erbil.
I was just going to reiterate, I guess, just to say that what we're doing here, I was hoping to advance the conversation, have the applicant hear from the Planning Commission about concerns about how we can get this to, yes, I will take the note about whether or not you want to see something before we are fully endorsed it or all the i's are dotted and t's are crossed.
We're not going to vote on anything. We're going to listen to the applicant and then make a decision whether to table, just so we can, as Mr. Beal said, move a little forward.
Note to self, last minute, no bueno. Okay. Folks, would you like to be heard? Please, if you would, put your name on the piece of paper up there. Oh, good Lord. No. Oh. There's a little button on the, and I thought you looked familiar.
I know, I told her, I know you. Okay, thank you. I wanted to address the parking situation. So we were working with Bridget prior to John. We've been working with them for over a year. And we have, the homes are moderate income. We have a grant through MISTA. All that stuff had been verified. And we had documentation from Bridget that we would have an allowance for parking. That is waived because of the income or the price of the homes. That was done almost 7 months ago. And we have documentation from the previous planning person regarding that. And then there was a comment regarding the other units that's on Kelly. They're not occupied now. So there was, I mean, we have nothing to do with it, but we know there was something with the fire suppression system. And that, and mold and all that stuff, something happened. So that's why they're not occupied.
And those units are for rent, and our construction and our development is for sale. And we're trying to make sure that we pre-sale those, so they won't be sitting there unoccupied and unopened. And we are working with Huntington Bank, North Star Bank, to pre-qualify actual buyers for the properties. So this is a totally different unit base, totally different development. So in addition to that, we apologize for bringing to you all or to Mr. Ubel updates, but we wanted to get in front of everyone the fact that we were trying to answer the questions and the issues and the concerns that came up so that we would have all the information in front of you. So I just want to make that comment as well, because there were quite a few comments and concerns. So we went back to our civil engineer, had him go through the documents and all of the questions and issues and comments so that he could address them, and so that we could have some preparation before this meeting.
Because officially, we didn't get the questions back until end of last week.
Yes.
And so we turned it back around to our civil engineer.
As quickly as we could.
And as soon as we got it back, we turned it in to them. So that was, it was based on, when we got it back from the planning department.
Does anybody have any questions for the applicants?
Do you have a rendering of a final product?
Yes, we do.
And is there a consideration if the parking is going to be an issue that you scale down how many units there are currently?
Yeah, and that was an option.
Okay.
We would go from 9 to 8, and that was an option.
So you're being very flexible.
We've been very flexible for over a year.
Thank you.
Initially, we started at 10.
Yeah,
Oh,
Yes.
yeah. And just to reference, the homes are 15 by 40, and the lot is 205 by 60. So technically 10, because there's a space in the middle. But yeah, we will we are very flexible as it relates to parking. Because we've had this, like I said, we've gone back and forth. And then, again, when Bridget gave us the thing saying, you know what, they didn't have to vote on it because of the income restrictions that was allowable.
Yeah, I'm not sure on that area, but I do know that during snow emergencies, as was mentioned, the police will tow the cars, and I would hate to have
Yeah.
someone go through that.
We are very flexible.
Appreciate that, thank you.
Well, given the fact that we have some new unknowns with whatever happened between Brigitte,
Sorry, didn't say your name right.
I think we do need to move forward with tabling this so we can get all the i's dotted and the t's crossed and not waste these ladies' time, and have everything put to bed. So, Mr. Sasek made a motion. Ms. Ulinsky, did you second that?
I did not, I had questions.
We have motion?
Well, I have one question. If you're considering tabling this, this is just for the next meeting, correct? All of the information will be together and we'll be in a position to move forward at that time?
Mr. Abil?
We can, yes, we can review the revised submission in time for the next meeting, and there can be another iteration.
How much time do you ladies need, do you think, to work with your civil engineer, to work with Paul and get it where it needs to be?
So to be clear, is it the parking that's the issue right now? I mean, is that the only thing that's the issue?
I guess I can't answer that fully until the entire administration reviews, but I think the parking was the major zoning item, in addition to the facade of the building. And some of that was, because there's a sample unit, some of that was addressed. It meets the required height. So from what I saw, it looks like things are moving in the right direction. The parking, to me, was the thing that was still outstanding.
Because to be perfectly honest, when I did the comparison of what the first submission and the comparison to the second submission that came overnight, it was, everything was addressed. I'm confused as to what we're speaking of aside from the parking. Because when I read through the information, it appeared to me as though the ladies had answered all of the questions. The civil engineer, they had answered everything there. And it seemed to be above board. It was one particular thing that I was, the word understood was placed there. I'm like, understood, I need an explanation for that. But other than that, everything seemed to be fine. So I don't know.
And can I just address, when we got it back and had the small window of time before the meeting, we put the pressure on the civil engineer, and we've provided some of the comments because he was also the civil engineer for the Kelly project. And so he had some questions around why are we asking some of these questions that he didn't do, that weren't applicable to Kelly. And so he needed a little more clarity because he didn't have enough information, because he had just done the same project. And that's why we picked him, because he knew he was familiar with Eastpointe. And so we did reach out, but unfortunately, we weren't able to schedule a meeting with the planning in time before we got here, so. But he did his best he could, with 2 days, notice.
So I will go back to my initial comment, is that if this is going to be tabled, I think out of fairness that we should make it known to them that this will be addressed at the next scheduled meeting.
Mr. Chair, I have no problem with that. We just need to make sure that my concern for them, as Brigitte and I started the project long time ago, is the parking would be your greatest and the community's greatest concern. And so that would have to be addressed. Because we can't address it in this condition ourselves administratively, it has to come before you. And so I have no problem being ready by next month, but we need the time and a deadline to put it in the public hearing so that everybody knows it's coming. And that's also a short window of time yet, not unreachable. I'm just saying, if we're going to get it in December's meeting, it just needs to be in the papers appropriately.
So the ladies are appearing flexible,
Yes.
changing it.
Yeah, I have no problem. I'm just saying, you're asking the question. The only piece we have administratively that we can do to support and guarantee you get it here is we got to get all of the pieces on the table for them to address to you in the parking issues in the newspaper in time.
So what date would they have to have their engineer have everything buttoned down, absolutely pristine, worked out? What date do they need to have it to you?
I can't remember that number.
I know it's 15 days because you have
Yes.
to publicly,
So from whatever 15 days back from the next our next hearing, whatever that date would be.
does that give you guys enough time? Or do you want to do this in January? Okay.
Just for a point of clarification, if the homes are affordable, you still need a public hearing? Although that's what's in your zoning ordinance? Okay.
So, all right. So you're good for December then?
Yes.
Okay. Good Lord.
Right, that's your biggest piece.
And then will you all be able to review what, the updates and get it to your civil engineer or whoever, so that then we can get back to ours in time, just in case there's some more gaps?
The engineer's here, so we'll be able to talk to them afterwards.
Okay, all right, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you, ladies.
you.
All right, Mr. Sassick made a motion.
Support.
We have support. Secretary, please call the roll for tabling this item.
Mr. Sassick?
Yes.
And on record, that's tabled until the December 4th,
Correct. I'm
2025
sorry.
meeting.
My apologies, yes.
Ms. Julinski, yes. Mrs. Moody? Yes. Ms. Naylor?
Yes.
Chairman DeHunt?
Yes. Mr. Kern, if you have a moment later on, maybe you introduce yourself to Ms. Clark and Ms. Hunter. All right. Moving on to item A. Mr. Erbil, do you wish to introduce this grand thing that's going to happen in the city?
I will introduce the gentleman from AEW who will introduce this grand thing to you.
Did we forget to pay the heat bill?
Yes, please.
I think I could hang meat here.
Breeze up here.
You're on deck, sir.
I'm just trying to get the technology to, whoa, there we go, okay. All right, let's see if I can do this without creating a lot of feedback. Are they? Okay. Okay, so Eastpointe Police and Court is why we are here. We have been working at AEW with the city for 2 years. It's been a while. Through a few different administrations and these sorts of things. So what you folks have in front of you, I'm starting here with the rendering, generally of the outside of the building. I will say that we plan to have more trees than what is shown. If you look at the site plan, site plan itself, that shows a lot more vegetation. It's just when we put all those trees in, you can't see the building in the rendering, so some of those get cybernetically cut down, so. But some of the features here, the facility is gonna be built basically at the same location as it is now. They bought the property next door, and the plan is to construct the facility over here to the east while they remain in operation. And then, once the building's complete, there'll be a move-over period, but it should be relatively short, and then the parking lot areas will be finished. As far as the number of spaces, we tried to keep that down, but there was a lot of function in terms of the raw number of court staff, the number of police police staff at shift change, and then as well the public parking for hearings when you have courtrooms that could be over 100 people in them. So the zone here in the southwest is the public parking. And then as you go up, this is court parking. And then kind of as you round the corner, you get into police parking. The property has a secure fence around the perimeter to keep people out of the court and police areas for the safety of the staff. And there is a proposed, gun range over here that the police department would like to put in as well. So we tried to get that through there. But as far as site amenities, we have a pocket park here close to 9 Mile to try to create a little bit nicer of a situation. We've got trees lining 9 Mile Road to be planted in. And then we have an entry plaza, I'll zoom back out here, in the front of the building with some raised planter beds that serves two purposes. It can put in vegetation. We're gonna use a lot of native vegetation is what I'm seeing on the plans, but with elevated planter beds like that, it also helps for security in terms of discouraging people from accidentally or intentionally ramming into the building. So those are a lot of the site features. Do you have more you want to add to that, Jeff? You covered it. So I guess I would look for any questions, comments, or concerns from you fine people.
As much as I hate to say this, is that enough parking? Unfortunately, we are a very active court. Is that enough parking?
Isn't there going to be parking too in the lot on the other side of 9 Mile? Were we talking about that, like where the post office parks, the municipal lot, that I think they were calling it back there?
The parking lot behind the library or something?
Yes.
We've had, we meet monthly with the court, with the police department administration on the design of the project. We've had several discussions about the parking, making sure that there is enough parking and adequate parking. We've had several discussions with the police chief, the judge, the magistrate, administration, as far as how much parking that those departments do need, as well as how much public parking. And we've based our design on those discussions that we've had with those administrators.
ADA compliant spots will be how many?
We have to have one for every 25 parking spaces at a minimum.
And I know this is probably a silly question, but I never want to assume, because this says option 2, this is the one that has been chosen.
That is the option that has been
Okay.
chosen, yes.
I don't want to assume that.
Does anybody have any questions for John? I guess my question would be, in the event that they open up a second courtroom though, will that be able to accommodate the extra need of the parking?
Based upon our discussions, yes, it would. And yeah, the design, and architects can go into that further, but the court has been designed, it does have 2 courtrooms in that design, so if there is another judge that is added, we have 2 courtrooms as part of this building.
And I know all this had the input of the court employees and the police
Yes.
department. I think this looks fantastic.
Mr. Chair, if I could add something too. Ways that courts in the area deal with challenges in parking is oftentimes they will stagger their docket. So they will schedule cases for 8 o'clock in the morning, 8:30, 9 o'clock, 9:30, so on and so forth. Or they will schedule, probation appointments on a particular day of the week, so there isn't actual court going on. I know the 40th District Court, I think that the 40th District Court probably has, and they have 2 judges over there with 2 courts going on, and they probably have a very similar size parking lot as well. And what they do is they stagger their dockets, and that does help in the amount of traffic that is coming to the court, so there isn't just a large group coming all at one time when the building opens.
No, I think they have mastered the numbers of parking. They've taken the ADA parking properly, meets the state and the city standards. And I think they're doing very well at laying out the travel and the transportational location of this property. I think it's not gonna be congested. I think it'll be a smooth transition in and out in the different types of 3 driveways that they're gonna have in this thing. Yes, the fire truck has no problem getting in and addressing the fire.
Comment more so, I was going to ask about the fire department, just looking at this one arrow that seemed kind of narrow. But we've talked about this when other businesses come to the area. And we talk about this now, there's new development from housing coming to the area. Our parking, and I think we went through our zoning, talking about parking. And different ways we can address the parking. I think it brings back to topic that we have to really look at our zoning, because the city is not going to get any bigger, but yet we say we want more people to come, more businesses to come, and this has been a chronic problem with every project. So we have to make a decision. If it's going to be the modern city, you know, parking is always going to be the barrier, or then we're going to have to find solutions to address them. I know we have the public hearing, we said, like in the last case, if, you know, with the income parameters. But, you know, I'm looking at this one, and I've gone past that. I've had to go to that court, and I know he said 8:30. It don't mean anything. The judge doesn't show up on time, so they all overlap. So that parking looks kind of tight to me for court proceedings, but I don't know what else. Like you say, there's no new land. I think at some point we have to revisit our zoning around parking, and we've talked about that for the last 2 or 3 years, but we have to really address that.
Yeah, and not that it's the time right now to bring this up, but I guess we need somebody to invest in a parking garage. They seem to be all the hit in other cities, and there's a large parcel on Gratiot.
Right across the street. See if Senator Kleinfeld can find some money to buy the building across the street.
Any other? I don't think so. I think you have. No?
Appreciate the opportunity.
All right. Thank you.
So we're on the zoning ordinance amendments, correct? Thank you, Mr. Chair. As far as the zoning ordinance amendments, as I said, I'm happy to revisit or answer any questions about what we are proposing. It is largely what we discussed last time. I will also say that we're not, or just in response to the comments, these, with regard to the regulations for accessory garages, when zoning ordinance was revised 2 years ago, these requirements were omitted, I believe, in an effort to make the development of accessory dwelling units, which are now permitted in Eastpointe, more practical. But the unintended consequences of omitting those requirements is that there are not the appropriate regulations for things like private garages. So what we are proposing here is to restore what was in the zoning ordinance that was originally written, I believe, in 2008, those regulations about private garages. So I just wanted to make the point that that was the law, or that was the regulation prior to 2 years ago for quite some time. I think there are, I guess I'm interested to hear any opinions about what was suggested or what was asked about reducing the setback. I think that there are good reasons for larger setbacks. I also acknowledge that many private garages in Eastpointe are non-conforming to the 3-foot rule, and the typical lot is very narrow. So some communities do allow a smaller setback, and some communities require a larger one. I just wanted to make the point that we were restoring these regulations for the private garages because we have inquiries about where they can go and how high they can be. And the way the ordinance is currently written makes answering those questions very difficult.
Mr. Chair. So I kind of drove around. We had a garage fire recently near my residence, and I looked at my own property. I have an attached, so setbacks didn't apply nearly as much. But I do think there should be some language that if we are going to have residents that already exist, like this guy had a fire, so it was a real life experience. And if this was already passed, then he would now have restrictive behavior on something that was in his yard the whole time he's owned his house. And I think that was something that I wanted to say we should address. If it is an existing home and a homeowner and they have something like a fire, I don't see where that person should be required to change what they purchased because they had the tragedy of a fire. So I don't know if there's some language that can be added, just like we do with special land use. If somebody buys the building and is use the same person, same for the same purpose, then they don't have to go through the whole special land use because it already was in that use. But I think if somebody already had a garage, there should be some language to protect the homeowner in our city, because I happen to have seen someone, I think that would be a tragedy if they had to try and now reduce what they had access to.
Tragedy doesn't ever require us to revert back to a new model. It's when a new owner comes in and they choose to take the building down, or say it was a demolition building because we've required them to take it down because it was unsafe to be operating. And then if they wanted to put one up after it was done, not managed or maintained for years, and it was requested by the courts or the Code of Appeals Board that it needs to be dropped, then they should bring it back to the current code. I don't have any problem saying if there's a tragedy, the fire starts, and they're going to rebuild their garage, that they would have to replace it from a different location. But both the facts are remaining. When a fire does happen, and there's 3 of them in our city right now, in a garage, they damage all the other properties. It's not, they're so close, they've already, now the insurance has to cover multiple neighborhoods. But I would support your analogy that if it's an existing garage and it's damaged and it needs to be rebuilt, it should not have to come off the same platform of which it was established. It should be able to be restored. The other piece we don't have any wording for right now is when they don't have a garage and they want to put one on, we have no guidelines for what a setback is set for at all. So there's 3 sides of the subject, and the one that says if you have a fire on a garage that is detached and it has to be rebuilt, I would have no problem granting it the right to be back on the same platform at which it was. But there's 2 other categories, and all the other assessments, all the other accessory isn't just about a garage. It's about some of their other sheds they want to put in, and the rat walls that don't get put in, and where do they get to be and how close they get to be put from another house. That's what these other listings are going to add to give the ability to bring safety to the future of the city. So I don't have any problem collecting a wordage that allows a damaged garage that needs to be replaced, that's been there for existing, can be put back in its same platform.
Is this a standard ordinance in a community similar to ours?
Yes, it would be, especially if the terminology is, say, weather destroys the garage, then they wouldn't have to put it back to modern zoning, unless, depending on what they want to use it for. So example, the other issues that this city hasn't addressed completely yet is people have, in the recent past even, has taken their garages and turned them into residential property. And now that you're sitting with a furnace and a water supply, and you're only 1.5 feet away from the neighbor without a fire separation, that becomes a concern if we don't catch that before they put those things together. So those are some of the things that this city doesn't have or some restrictions on yet that allow us to not necessarily protect people that want to put two residential primaries on one property.
Okay. Does anybody have any other questions of Mr. Myers or Mr. Rubio? Okay. So do we need to make a motion here?
Mr. Chair?
There'll be some language pertaining to, like you said, if we have those situations where somebody has to replace, should we have some language for that? What's our motion?
You've got a proposed motion, Mr. Myers?
Yes, I want to clarify that wording is already in our system. Let me read it for you.
Thank you.
It's in section 1107, number D, number 1, the reconstruction, repair, rebuilding, or continuance of a non-conforming building, including their use, damage by fire, collision, explosion, or act of natural disaster, or unusual circumstances wherein the experience of the construction does not exist in assessing valuation of the building at the time of the damage, according to this permitted, is still permitted. So it's already in our ordinance on those categories if it's caused by damage of multiple levels. So in your response, it's already in our verbiage that it wouldn't need to be moved.
Okay. So do we have a proposed motion already written in here that I'm missing? I don't, yeah.
I had enough, before we do the motion, I did have a question. We talked about the event halls at the beginning. I think it was 2.07, table of land use and zoning. And then the new language is an event hall, the experiential retail. So in the amendment, it says it will no longer be a permitted use under some of these other codes. So what would be the process then if it's no longer permitted in, like the MU12, DT, et cetera? So if we're going to just change it from being experiential retail, and the description seems to be the same thing, to me, it seemed to be the same thing as an event hall, but now we're changing where it's permitted to be used.
So the intention there is to remove the term experiential retail, and so that term was intended for something like painting with a twist. If that use, if someone requested to occupy a building with that use, under the proposed changes, that use would be classified just as retail and be permitted anywhere retail is proposed, if that is the principal use of the building. In practice, that definition was causing some confusion or encouraging people to say that they were doing one thing when what they were really doing was opening an event hall. So we're just trying to clarify the difference between the two things.
So it was all word games and semantics, essentially.
Definitions.
So, but the use could be the same. I guess that's what I'm asking, because it's now saying it's not permitted use. So what would be the process if somebody did want to do like a painting with a twist? They have to say they're doing an event hall?
No, they would describe what they were doing, and the city would classify that as retail, and it would be permitted in the MU districts. I think is where general retail is permitted.
Okay, so I see it then, it's just a reclassification that, because I thought you were saying, instead of saying the experiential retail, it's now supposed to be called an event hall. So if it's an event hall, and as is described here, where food or beverages can be served, then that's just a permitted use because it's an event hall, correct?
Correct. It's permitted
But if-
in certain places.
Yeah.
Yep.
But if they were going to do this painting with a twist type business or some kind of business where they come in for crafts, whatever, then they have to get a special land use or something?
No, if that's the primary use, if that's all that happens there, then it would just be permitted.
Retail.
Okay, just falling under retail and out, okay.
Correct.
I just wanted to make sure the clarification, because I was like, we need to keep that. I think that was the last thing I had, Chair.
So do we have a motion to send this to city council for a recommended approval?
So moved.
All right, should we read, would you read item C into the record, please, Gary?
Sure. So I'm making a motion to send to city council the revised, adopted, proposed amendments to the zoning ordinance for the city of Eastpointe. Zoning ordinances, section 2.07, 7.01, 7.03, thank you. 7.0, I'm sorry, 8.04, 9.04, 9.05, 10.02, 10.03, 10.05, 13.02, and to the zoning map.
And we are recommending their approval?
Yes.
Okay. We have motion, do we have support?
Support.
We have motion by Mr. Sasek, we have support by Ms. Moody. Secretary, please call the roll.
Mr. Sasek?
Yes.
Mrs. Moody?
Yes.
Ms. Naylor?
Yes,
Ms. Julinski, yes. Chairman DeHaan?
Yes. Moving on to item D, consider a motion to adopt the 2025 Planning Commission.
26.
Yeah, I was just going to say that too. I didn't catch that when we approved the agenda. And that- Oops.
All right. Consider a motion to adopt the 2026 Planning Commission meeting schedule and submission deadlines, which I believe is the very last page of your packet.
Yep,
We have motion. Do we have support?
support.
We have motion and we have support. Secretary, please call the roll.
Mrs. Moody?
Yes.
Ms. Julinski, yes. Ms. Naylor?
yes.
Mr. Sasek?
Yes.
Chairman DeHaan?
Yes. We have no unfinished business. Moving on to Mr. Myers and the Building Department update.
I don't have much. There's many things going on at the place right now. We have finalized our fifth code officer to be on our staff in the last week and a half. We're excited about that. We've moved to a 5-district structure that allows each person to have 1 mile radius to help begin to be a part of our neighborhood block watch, to be a part of our business districts, and so that person becomes a connected link from the building department to all the issues of planning, 5-year master planning, and everything that's going on inside the districts. We're excited about that piece. We're hoping to find the last person in our building department, in our clerk, in the next week or so. We have a proposal on the table for someone that allows us to rewrite all of our programming and our software so that we can become more legitimately and effectively involved in the city digitally. And the goal really here, as this team gets in motion, is to present ourselves to the state for audits, for demonstration of accuracy and proficiency in our department for the first time in many, many years, so that you as a planning commission and the city council can have trust and confidence that we are not just people trying to get a paycheck, but we're bringing the ordinance that I'm sworn to uphold, which is life, safety, health, and wellness of a whole community, one parcel at a time, to our city. So I'm excited about those things. I thank you as a commission for your hard work of reviewing the details I count on you being thorough so that there's an accountability to the planner and myself. Thank you for that hard work to address some of the comments ahead of time. The Topher project is just about on the back door of being open. I've met with the leadership there last week personally. The deadline is to find a secure way to not get robbed anymore, to get the mechanical pieces in. There's a few items on the inside that have to be met that are plumbing inspected required as a final before we can close and give them a C of A, which is a compliance of approval. So we have already granted them the right to start in December 1 to take applications on, and within 45 days from when we had our meeting, they should begin to have housing people available to move in. So the goal is to have people start being available to walk into that door before the end of this year. So we have a couple more pieces that they had to finish to satisfy the building department's life and safety, but they're right on the back door being ready to walk in. So we're excited about that. And that's the biggest project going there. We're still working out some of the final details to open up our marijuana facility on 8 and Kelly. That's just on the back door being finished as well. Thanks to the attorney and the city's process, I'm getting a chance to be a little bit more aggressive in our neighborhoods. And we now are addressing unhealthy and unsafe houses in our neighborhoods and bringing them to a nuisance abatement. So I think we have about 8 or 9 of them that we'll be bringing to the table to clean up, and so that getting in through this winter, we'll have some less dangerous buildings in the city. And that's due to the fact that our staff is growing, and I can address more aggressively the housing stock issue that we have in the community. So there's an update that I'm excited to see is moving forward, and you can keep me accountable to see where we're going to go into the future, because if we can get state's approval that we're following the laws, the rules, and our efficiency, then the city has great hope that we can fix the 5-year master plan in a timely manner.
Thank you, Mr. Myers. Moving on to the second hearing of the public. If anybody wishes to be heard, you have 3 minutes.
Jennifer Nicholas, Eastpointe resident. Just a couple more questions on the development at, Veronica and Beaconsfield. I know I've said this before, but that neighborhood is mostly brick homes, older brick homes, very nice neighborhood there. So I think it would be helpful for you to get an actual rendering of what it's going to look like there. Somebody had mentioned something about vinyl siding, and I thought that our ordinance said that no vinyl siding is allowed on Kelly or Topfer. That was kind of the issue with the quadruplexes over at Kelly and Topfer, where Mr. Myers informed me that what's on Topfer isn't vinyl siding, it just looks like vinyl siding, which to me just kind of defeats the purpose of having that ordinance. So I would hope that whatever is going at Beaconsfield and Veronica, because that is a very lovely neighborhood over there, is something that will blend in and be aesthetically pleasing to that community, because there are a lot of homes there. Other than that, I think that's it. Thank you for clarifying with the garages, and hopefully that, never happens to anybody where their garage burns down, and that I understand what you're saying about the safety issue, and I'm not sure how all of Eastpointe is laid out, but in my neighborhood, my garage is 2 feet away from a fence, and on the other side of the fence is an open backyard. So there is, if it were to be set on fire or something happened, it's not going to damage my neighbor's property. There's nothing there. There's empty backyard. And that's how most of the homes on my block are. So thank you for clarifying that and making it more reasonable for homeowners. Thank you. Have a good night.
Does anyone else wish to be heard? Anyone else wish to be heard? Seeing none, we'll close the second hearing of the public, and we'll move on to commissioners' comments. Mr. Myers,
I have nothing.
Mr. Erbil,
I have nothing further. Thank you, Chair.
Mr. Woodsett, I think that's you down there.
I have nothing.
Mr. Albright.
Well, Thanksgiving's going to be here in 3 short weeks, so I want to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Shadlaw.
I'd just like to thank everyone for coming today, especially for Ms. Clark and Ms. Hunter. Thank you for your patience with us. We're looking forward to seeing the answers that we have for those questions with respect to the parking. And I'd like to thank everyone here for their service and wish them a happy Thanksgiving as well.
Thank you. Ms. Ulinski.
I don't have much. I actually just forgot to email you, John, but the street sign on Gratiot and Cousins, and this might be a Darren thing, is reversed on the east side of the street. Not a big deal. And I kind of had I do have a question, not kind of. The parking lot at Auto Clinic, when does he have to have that done?
Sunburn noise.
60 days ago.
Oh, okay, that's kind of what I thought. And then him blocking the sidewalk on Nels really irritates me when I walk. And I wondered if, so since there's a code officer for each sections of the city, is it something that we could put out to the public that they could directly call their person and that would help that person also get to know or is that not allowable? Yes, sir.
I think that'll be more than allowable as we work alongside of the police with their officer in the same neighborhood. And what we plan to do is get approval to open a public forum so that what we're doing in our community with our code officers can be reviewed and heard, particularly in landlord issues. And so that when they were concerned about how we're now managing our department in rentals, they'll have a chance to speak directly to me, not about their address, but about the process and the policies. And so, yes, hopefully by the time I get to the second quarter, which starts in January, we might have a strong enough team that if they have a complaint, they can go through our CRA or directly to a code officer to take a look at it.
Well, I just, and my thought process for that was I don't know, but I hear that, people, when they call the main city number, blah, 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 whatever happens. And my thought was if they could go directly to their person and then develop a relationship for each sector, people would know, kind of like when we had, the officers for each thing. That was my thought for that. And I think I asked this before, not too long ago, so I apologize if it's the same, but our development ready status, we're still on track?
They are still on
Redevelopment
track.
ready, okay.
RRC.
Yeah, sorry. All right, happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Ms. Moody?
Good evening. I have nothing, just to say happy Thanksgiving to everyone.
Thank you. Ms. Naylor?
I don't have anything. Happy Thanksgiving. Sorry I missed you guys last month, but yeah, look forward to a nice 2026 and working on our master plan to get our city on track and resolve the parking so we can grow effectively and be inviting for businesses, developers, and get us a corridor.
Mr. Sasek?
Happy Thanksgiving to everybody. I just want to clarify too that my concerns when it comes to new buildings, new structures, whatever, I just want to make sure that what's going in is cohesive to the rest of the surrounding area. Like I said, there is a monstrosity on Lexington that has basically made itself the most expensive piece of property on the street. And we want property to be able to move within the city, but we also have to consider the total safety of the city. And I know how bad street parking can be at really creating problems for that. So I'm not trying to be negative about it, but it's something we really have to consider. And I'm looking forward to a very prosperous 2026.
Thank you. Thank God you weren't around 25 years ago or 30 years ago when we tore my garage down, because my fence went around my garage. And it kind of leaned to one side. We had garage fires back then, but nobody wanted to torch it, so. But thank you for your attention to detail.
We have, if you could, for fun, we have two houses in two city parking garages right now that they can't fix the one side of their garage because the fence is within 6 inches of their property line, and they don't know how to fix it. I said, you're gonna have to ask the neighbor if you can remove the fence completely so you can repair your garage wall so you can put it back together and then put his fence back up. Because that's how close the garage is to the fence.
Well, I appreciate your attention to detail, and I understand that some of the stuff that we do seems minute and minutia and annoying, and just, it takes a toll sometimes on people, but it's all very important that we do it. So thank you for every question that's asked, whether we agree with answers or not, it's important. So we had an election this week. Congratulations to those who won. Congratulations and thank you to those who ran. We move forward. And every election is a new day wherever you're at. Whether your person wins or not is irrelevant. We move forward as a community. So no looking back, we drive forward. If you want to get in the rearview mirror and you want to drive backwards, I'm sure there are other communities for you, but we drive forward in the city. With that, can I get a motion to close the meeting? We have a motion. Do we have support?
Support.
We have motion and 3 supports. Motion by Ms. Moody, support by Ms. Naylor. Secretary, please call the roll.
Mrs. Moody?
Yes.
Ms. Naylor?
Yes.
Mr. Sasek?
Yes.
Ms. Julinski, yes. Chairman DeHunt?
Yes.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.